What's up guys, Fahan here and welcome back to another ultimate review. This is the review of the highly requested Honda CB200X. So I've rented out this bike just for this review, so let's get this review started. What's up guys, I'm Fahan
and I am Zah,
and we are from Tambak Overlanders, Singapore's #1 motor vloggers. The National Bikers Weekend is back for 2022,
Singapore's biggest motorcycle show of the year.
the one-stop event for all your biker needs.
It will be held on the 4th to the 6th of November at the Marquee Downtown East.
Myself and Zah will be present at the event. We'll be vlogging, having a meet and greet session and also selling our merch.
There's also going to be pop-up booth from recognizable names from the motorcycle industry, showcasing and selling accessories and their merchandise.
So come on down to the Marquee at Downtown East for Singapore's biggest motorcycle event.
So if you see us, say hi and don't be shy, and we hope to see you there.
Alright guys, so today the weather has been very cruel to me. You know, it like rained on and off. Basically I have a window right now since it stopped raining, drizzling a bit, but we're still going to review the Honda CB200X. So sitting on it at the right height of 80 cm. I'm 165 and I have to say that I'm tiptoeing slightly and it's really vertically challenge friendly, I would say. Starting it up, pretty straightforward. Uses a key, push on the starter. Okay, so let's go. Right, so the Honda CB200X. I have to say that riding it for quite a while, I was pleasantly surprised with the bike. The handling is great, the performance is great. Upon launch, the low to mid-range torque, I have to say it's pretty good lah for a class 2B. In comparison to the earlier CB150X that I've ridden, I have to say that I'm leaning more to the CB200X with its performance, and it's a very fast bike. Maybe it has to do with the CC, given that it's 184 while the CB150X is just 150, right? But this is really a winning contender right now lah. And the riding ergonomics, been riding it the whole day, right? It doesn't hurt my back at all. I feel pretty comfortable. Is this tall upright sitting position that you'd expect with most of the adventure bikes. I have to say that it's a really comfortable ride lah. Okay, so 12 liter fuel tank with an average fuel economy of 57.3 kilometers per liter, and yeah, I have to say it's really fuel saving. I mean, for a class 2B, I think this is kind of typical. Weighing at 147 kg, it's also very light. Makes it easier on newbies who are still trying to get a foothold of their bikes. Weight really plays an important part, and the handling wise is great also. Leans, corners and turns where you point the bike to. But I cannot say much about the shocks though. The shocks on the CB200X is kind of meh, you know. Okay lah, actually second that lah. The suspension is kind of good actually. And the idling also, you barely feel the bike idling right now. I thought that it's like turned off, and the sound is this kind of mellow sounding hum that you hear, you know, which I totally love lah. I wouldn't want a bike that is loud or too deep. Something like this is really nice lah. Given that it shares the same engine as the Honda CB190 series of bikes, of course it sounds similar lah. And given that it shares the same engine, it might have the same issues that you'd expect with a CB190X or a CB190 series bike. But so far, doing my research, I've yet to hear any riders complaining about the CB200X. Right, maybe it's still early in this phase, so you wouldn't know the reliability lah. So that is my biggest concern about the CB200X right now. We're not sure about reliability wise. Right, so the windshield is kind of short, I have to say, so you're feeling the full force of the wind right in front of you. And at 75 kilometers per hour, the rev of the bike going higher, and it struggles, you know, kind of struggles. Windshield's kind of short, it really doesn't deflect the wind pretty well. I think there are aftermarket windshields that are higher that you can consider installing. I think in terms of the top speed, the CB150X wins. I mean, at 90 I don't feel the bike like struggling too much, but this bike at 70 it already begging you to slow down. I've never ever ridden a CB190 series of bike, so I wouldn't know, but I would reckon it would be similar lah. But interestingly, this bike, it's not a Chinese bike, it's made in India, and maybe the build quality is different. We wouldn't know. Oh man, it's drizzling a bit. Weather is really unforgiving. Okay, so let's make a left right here once again and test out the CB200X in the city setting. Oop. Oh my god, kind of slippery. The tires, I think I'll change them out. Kind of slippery. You can feel yourself sliding on the road markings. The stock tires on this really suck. If this is my bike, I'll definitely change the tires out and ride on more grippier tires. It's very scary, you know, when you're going through road markings and you can feel the bike sliding. You feel as if you're gonna fall or drop the bike. I actually observed this in some of the reviews, like in India. When people are test riding this bike, they complain that the tires are very slippery. Something to consider when you're riding a CB200X. Speaking of sliding, I mean, if you drop this bike, be careful because it has handguards and the indicators are integrated with the handguard, so you'll need to really be careful not to drop this bike, or else if you drop it and you damage the handguards, you're definitely gonna pay a whole lot of tuition fee lah. And for our class 2B riders, that may be a hole in their pocket lah. But I have to say that I love that they included hazard light and engine kill switch on the CB200X. Gives it a premium kind of feel, I would say. Overall, I think no issues with city riding, given that, you know, it's a class 2B, it's meant to handle low speed start-stop situation. I think lane splitting also no issue lah. You can definitely squeeze in between cars with, you know, the handlebar size. I just love the cockpit view right now. It really gives a nice commanding view. You can see your instrument gauge cluster, your handlebar controls. Based on the Honda Hornet 2.0, the Honda CB200X is an urban adventure bike made by Honda Motorcycle and Scooter India. The CB500X inspired bike is made to compete with the locally made Hero X Pulse 200 ADV. Reviewers all over the world have praised the CB200X for its design outlook, tying it to Honda cross-adventure cousins at an affordable price point for developing markets. Engine is shared with the CB190 series and the Hornet 2.0, a 184.9cc air-cooled 4-stroke 2-valve SOHC with electronic fuel injection and a 5-speed manual transmission. Right guys, as usual, we're gonna start off with the sitting posture. Okay, so sitting on this bike right now, very much this typical adventure kind of sitting posture, very upright, arms onto stretched out. So very comfortable and very ergonomical sitting position. Riding this bike all day yesterday, I don't feel too tired lah. Okay, so with a ride height of 80 cm, I'm 165, and standing on a bike like this, as you can see, I'm tiptoeing so slightly. I think very good challenge riders wouldn't have any issues at all with this bike lah. And yeah, with a weight of 147 kg, really makes it easy on the legs when you're standing on the bike like this, you know, start-stop traffic and all that. It's really vertically challenge friendly lah. And of course, we got to talk about the overall design and outlook of the Honda CB200X. I have to say that comparing it in pictures, videos versus looking at it in real life, wow, I really cannot keep my eyes off the bike. It's really a nice, attractive, beautiful design, and I must say that it's really appealing to the eye lah. It's very nice, especially this red color over here. It's a really attractive design. Honda really makes nice bikes, I must say. But as you can see, overall design elements of the CB200X is directly adapted from all of Honda's cross-adventure touring bikes, and the likes of the CB400X, 500X, and C750, and really brings the identity of this bike with the rest of the cross adventure series of bikes that Honda has lah. It's not too futuristic, but at the same time it's modern and up to date with current 2020 era standards, I would say. But I have to say that I'm not too keen on the 200X word over here. You know, this is really a bad decision for it to be here. I feel that it will be better, here, just above the radiator cover over here. And speaking of radiator covers, this bike's radiator cover is actually decoration. The CB200X is actually air cooled. There's no radiator, and they just want to emulate the look of the 500X on this bike, which is why they have this additional piece of plastic over here. And of course, the CB200X is actually adapted directly from the Hornet 2.0. The headlight and the rear over here is shared with the Hornet. They only added in the half flaring adventure bodywork to make the CB200X lah, in which I'm really fine with that lah. No issues about it. And also the flaring, the front flaring over here, the adventure flaring, has been risen up quite a bit to give that bike a much more taller appearance, I would say. But don't let the looks of the CB200X fool you. This bike isn't actually an adventure bike at all. This is more of a commuter bike. Being based on the Hornet is also a commuter bike. You can do some light off-roading with the CB200X, but not heavy off-roading. So some of the telltale signs include a lower travel suspension. Even though it looks tall, the ground clearance is actually 16.7 cm. And the badge plate you see on this bike is actually plastic, so it's not going to protect your engine or your undercarriage as well. The main stand itself hangs a bit too low lah. So definitely when you're off-roading, you're going to destroy your main stand or your underbelly if the bike goes through really rough terrain. But I think light off-roading like gravel or sandy paths, no issue lah, you reckon, because from what I see in the videos in India, they do some light off-roading with this bike, but they really don't recommend to do heavy off-roading on the CB200X. And up next, you got to talk about the handlebar controls. So handlebar controls, as you can see, is basically basic, straightforward. Nothing much for you to tinker or toggle with. There's no riding modes, not much riding tech on this bike. So basically, it's just there lah. Okay, so high beam, low beam, signal indicators, horn. We got the passing light over here. And to the right over here, we got the starter, hazard light switch, and also the engine cut-off switch lah. And I must say that comparing this with the CB150X versus the 200X, the 200X has more buttons lah, which I really like. Gives it a nice premium kind of feel to it lah. And also we've come to the gauge cluster. So the gauge cluster is an LCD display. Obviously this is from the Honda parts bin. You can see this gauge cluster in some of the other bikes like the RS150R. I think the CB150X uses the same one. So Honda did this to cut costs out, obviously. Okay, so a few buttons to toggle with. So as you can see, it's a gear indicator, fuel gauge, tachometer, speedometer, and there's also a clock. And also you can toggle it. Okay, there's the odometer, trip A, trip B, and a voltmeter included also. And basically that's it lah.
And also what I like about the 200X is that there's a side stand engine cut off. Usually this feature is available on most of the bigger bikes and they vary to the 200X.
So as I said earlier, there's not much riding tech on this bike. Okay, but there is some. The LCD gauge cluster once again, LED lighting all around, single channel ABS is standard, only for the front brake, and also twin disc brakes provided by Nissin brake calipers lah. So horn check for the CB200X. Okay, it's very loud I must say, high pitched also. Not too bad lah, the sound. And of course we got to talk about the colours. And as you can see, the CB200X sports livery that is adapted directly from the Honda Africa Twin. So as you can see, there's adventure stripes on the fairing over here, and it comes with 3 colours lah. So basically the one being reviewed right now is the sports red. There's also matte celine silver metallic and a pearl night star black lah. But for me, I love the red one. And now we got to talk about pricing. So once again, this bike isn't brought in by Honda Bunsio. So definitely the support and the after sales support lies with the individual workshops they bring in this bike. Okay, so we got 3 actually new ones basically with COE 17,500. We got one more listing for 600,888. We got one more for 16,777. They're really competitive with the pricing. All of this is with COE and new, of course, from the shop, of course. And we got one listing for a used one for 15,500 lah. And of course, given the COE right now, so expensive, even for a budget bike like this, the prices are really skyrocketing. Okay, so let's test it out upon launch from the traffic light. Because I was pleasantly surprised when I first rode on it. The performance of the stop line and the low to mid-range torque is also quite good. But I have to say, the top speed wise, the CB200X wins. Woo. So torquey machine, where the top speed I wouldn't count on it lah. If you want to go fast on this bike, you better consider other options rather than the CB200X. Clutch is very light. I don't think this has slipper clutch though, but it really doesn't hurt your hand, you know, changing a gear or holding onto the clutch for long periods of time. Changing gears is also pretty easy. But once again, I don't think that it has slipper clutch though. Oh man, better be careful with the road markings. I feel as if I'm gonna buang with this bike, you know, when you run over the road markings. Stay on the tarmac, guys. I mean, I don't want to drop this bike because it's not my bike, first and foremost, so I don't want to damage it. Also, it's been raining on and off, so the road surface is quite slippery. Right, so you're gonna go into the highway now. Oh, 5-speed manual transmission on this bike. Of course, definitely it cannot go fast lah. And at 80 kilometers per hour, I can definitely feel like the bike is struggling right now. It's begging me to slow down. Slow down, Fahan, please. I cannot go any faster than this. I think that's why the CB150X, there's a lot more of it on the streets lah, rather than the 200X. Because it shares the same 184cc as the CB190X, which has been proven to be an unreliable bike lah. And also cannot go really fast on it. But the low to mid-range torque is pretty good though. I have to say that the low to mid-range torque is pretty good. And I'm leaning towards the 200X because of the general design of it. I mean, comparing this to the 150X, which looks like, you know, it skipped leg day or something, right? The 200X is much more beefier, both front and rear, and it has a much more complete adventure look to it lah. Even though this is actually a Hornet 2.0 underneath it. If I have a choice, you know, for a commuter class 2B, you know, I might just pick the 200X. I really love the way this bike looks, you know. It's just a nice looking machine that is pleasing to the eyes when you look at it. I just love looking at it. And also it has slightly more features like the hazard light and the kill switch. This bike has ABS also. I think the 150X doesn't have ABS. No, pretty sad, it sucks. Why doesn't it have ABS? I certainly feel that ABS is important lah. Safety when you jam brake or something, you know, so that you won't slide. Okay. So lane splitting, no issue. It's really small enough for you to squeeze in between cars like what I'm doing now. And the nice commanding presence that the cockpit gives you really provides you a nice view of the road ahead of you, you know. Gets up to speed fairly good, but above 80 doesn't do too well. I think if you're a class 2B newbie, it's suitable for you. It handles pretty well. It's a nice, attractive design, and it's also not too overpowering. Very easy for you to handle city streets. But you gotta take into consideration the tires are kind of slippery lah. So change out your tires if you were to buy this bike. I wouldn't recommend using these tires. They're not really grippy, especially on the road markings. Okay lah guys, so I'll give you guys my final thoughts and conclusions on the CB200X, and we'll see you guys in a bit. Right guys, so I really had a fun day with the CB200X. I have to say that overall I pretty much enjoyed my time with the bike. It's a very fun bike. I think most of you Class 2B riders or veteran riders who are looking for a simple Class 2B bike, they're really gonna appreciate this CB200X lah. My personal thoughts and opinions is that the CB200X is basically a basic bike with all the adventure look and feel of a typical Honda cross tourer adventure bike lah, like the 400X or the NC750 for example lah. But putting it simply, is basically a reskin Honda Hornet 2.0 with better riding ergonomics lah. Because when I'm sitting on it, it's a very comfortable bike, my personal opinion. And overall, I think the plus point is definitely the general design and outlook of the CB200X lah. And I know that a lot of you guys wanted me to compare the CB200X with the CB150X, the other adventure inspired Class 2B bike. I personally love the look of the CB200X lah. I feel that it's much more closer to the CB400X that is supposed to resemble as opposed to the 150X. I feel that the CB200X has a complete look of an adventure bike, and the performance wise, I feel that upon launch and the low to mid-range torque on the CB200X is better than the CB150X lah. Maybe this has to do with the engine capacity. This is a 184, the CB150X is a 150 lah. And the handling also, I feel that this is much better than the CB150X, and also I feel that the handling is much better on the CB200X. I feel that it's much more refined than the CB150X. For me, in my personal opinion, I'll get a CB200X lah, given that it has more buttons on the handlebar control, such as the hazard light and the engine kill switch lah. But it's raining right now. I just finished this up lah. However, if you're concerned about dropping the bike, in which this bike has, there's some scuff on the right hand guard over here, and it's gonna be an expensive repair if you were to drop the bike and damage the integrated signal indicators lah. You can always consider a CB150X lah. If you ask me, it's a great Class 2B bike for riders wanting to get into the Honda Cross Adventure series of bikes, even though you can only do some light off-roading on it. And also great handling, great riding posture, simple and straightforward riding controls, and I would reckon that it should be easy to maintain lah, given that it's a Honda and a Japanese bike lah. However, just remember this engine is the same 184cc engine as the CB190X series of bikes. But so far I've yet to hear any complaints on the reliability issues of the CB200X lah. Okay lah guys, so it's raining now. I'm gonna shut off my camera. That's it for the vlog. We'll see you guys in the next one.